Have you ever asked yourself, who am I? Where did I come from? I've asked myself those questions, especially since my biological father left when I was 4 years old. I've always known I'm supposed to be somebody, I just don't know who. Have you ever experienced deja vu? A few years ago, I went to London, and while I was there, I started experiencing deja vu. My husband started teasing me that maybe I had been Boudicca in a past life. I thought that was just a little bit crazy. Of course, we did go see her sculpture across from Big Ben. It was impressive. Her daughters bare-breasted, her with long flowing hair, and in command of a chariot. Who knew there were ancient women warriors? After that experience, I started studying women warriors and Boudicca in particular, and I ended up in a professional field dominated by men, general contracting. And every once in a while, I had to flex my muscle to prove I could do the job. Who knows? Maybe I am. Maybe I was Boudicca in a past life. About 3 years ago, I decided to trace my heritage. I joined Ancestry.com and I found all kinds of relatives I had no idea about. What I found was exciting and clearly showed how humans have multiplied over the centuries. I have ancestors spanning 3 continents, and who knows, maybe I'm related to you. But the most shocking revelation was that Boudicca is my grandmother, 62 times removed. Boudicca, Celtic warrior queen, wife, mother, national resistance hero, and one of the first feminists to secure her place in history for leading the insurgents against the Romans and wiping out the 9th Roman Legion. And her courage and fearlessness in the face of brutality has inspired me to face my life with courage and determination. My great-grandmother Boudicca was born into a royal family of Celtic heritage, and she married the King of Iceni, a tribe in East England, and about 45 AD, and bore him 2 daughters. The Celts were a formidable warlike tribe, the women fighting alongside the men. The Greek historian Plutarch described a battle between the Romans and the Celts. In the fight, the women were no less fierce than the men themselves, charging their opponents with swords and axes and uttering a hideous war cry, "Ow!" In Celtic society, women held positions of power and could own land and choose their husband. The Romans invaded and conquered large parts of Britain in 43 AD. The king of Iceni was one of 2 kings that were allowed to keep their traditional power and lands. Upon his death, he willed 1/2 of his lands and wealth to his daughters, and the other half to the Emperor Nero. The emperor was enraged when he found out about this, because Roman laws did not allow royal inheritance to pass to daughters. He sent Roman forces to take over the Iceni and to set an example out of my grandmother Boudicca. They stripped her naked and they whipped her with a flagrum. Can you imagine your skin opening up and peeling back with every stroke of that whip? And then they made her watch as they publicly raped and tortured her daughters. who were only 12 years old. My great-grandmother Boudicca, wife, mother, Celtic warrior queen, her rage and her fury boiled into hatred. At this point, the Britons were ready to join her in her quest for revenge. 100,000 Britons gathered at Venta, the capital of Iceni. The following battles were vicious, and the Britons were victorious, taking the heads of their captives and offering them to the goddess of victory, which was customary for the Celts. At this point, the three principal cities had been captured. And according to Roman historian Dio Cassius, 70 to 80,000 Romans had been killed, and the 9th Roman legion had been slaughtered. The final battle was fought in the countryside. The Romans, with fresh reinforcements, wiped out 80,000 Britons. My great-grandmother Boudicca survived that battle. She escaped to the Iceni territory, where she poisoned herself because she knew what her fate would be if she were captured by the Romans. My great-grandmother Boudicca, wife, mother, warrior queen, national resistance hero, and one of the first feminists. You can see her sculpture across from Big Ben and the Houses of Parliament. The inscription on her statue reads, Boudicca, Queen of the Iceni, died 61 AD after leading her people against the Roman invader. As a result of learning about my heritage and my great-grandmother Boudicca, I have a better understanding of who I am and how I fit into this world we live in today. The story of my great-grandmother Boudicca has made me realize how each and every one of us have our place in history. She actually lost the war to the Romans, and they were in power another 400 years. Although she is an example of women and men throughout the centuries and even today who stand against oppression, persecution, and bigotry. Her story relates to our world today because we still have occupied nations. In fact, there are 133 decentralization movements happening today. We still have countries that treat women like second-class citizens. In fact, women in the age group of 15 to 44 are more likely to die from violence than cancer, malaria, car accidents, and war combined. We still have religious persecution. In the 20th century, more Christians were martyred than in all of the previous centuries combined. And did you know we still have slavery? In fact, we have more people enslaved today than at any time in human history. There are 27 million people enslaved. 50% of those are children. 80% are young women and young girls. Today, I have told you the story of my ancient grandmother Boudicca and the barbaric war she fought against the Roman occupation of Britain, and how she wiped out the 9th Roman Legion, and how her courage and fearlessness in the face of brutality has inspired me to face my life with courage and determination. I challenge you today to seek out your ancestors. They may be kings, queens, or saints, and their DNA is a part of you. And who knows, you and I may be related.